So, hi everyone. Thank you for coming today. I know the weather today is a little bit shitty, but you make a great effort to be here today, and thank you very much for that. So, before we start today, I would like to introduce you about the shortcut and the School of Startup that we are organizing. So, the School of Startups is a series of workshops that we organize for 3 weeks. The first week we have the business track, where we cover all the topic about business. The second week was about design track, and this week is about tech track, where you're gonna learn a lot of new knowledge about technologies from the Quru, from like startup doers, a lot of great people. So before we start, just one small thing about the shortcut, that we are the non-profit organizations under the Startup Foundations. Our mission is to encourage people to work for the startup or open a startup yourself. So with all the events we organize, that's our missions, to provide you with all the knowledge and encourage you to open your own startup or work for a startup. And before we start, we want to go to a little bit logistic stuff. We have 2 toilets. One is behind the kitchen, and the other one is on your right side. So if you guys in need, and just go for it. And that's it. I will introduce the speaker today. Please welcome Mira Mäkiranta. I'm sorry, I'm
That's
very
good.
bad with the Finnish name. So please welcome our speaker today.
Thank you. Do I need that mic as well, or can you guys hear me? Yes, good. Just give me a shout if you can't hear me, then I'll speak louder. Thank you for being here tonight, and welcome to Google Analytics. Introduction to Data and Web Analytics is the headline of the presentation. For the next 1 hour and 45 minutes, we'll go through some basics about web analytics. Some of you may have seen the Google Analytics individual qualification training that we did in these same premises a few months back. That was solely about the tool and how to use the tool, and especially how to pass the certification for Google Analytics. This time we will go there as well, so no worries. But first, I'm going to concentrate more on what to do with analytics and why you should do that, why you should be interested in web analytics in general. So my name is Mira Mäkiranta, and I'm working for a company called Quru. And then also I have a double role at Google. So I'm also a regional trainer for Google Analytics in Finland. So basically, for Google, I'm giving Google Analytics trainings. I'm usually the one giving the trainings in Finland for Google as well. So what we will do today is that we start with theory. We're not going to dig deeper into the actual tool yet to begin with. We'll go through some cases on how to use data in marketing. So basically, after the short introduction, we will go through some real life cases from real life clients. So basically, we're going to go through on how to optimize content based on analytics. How to optimize digital advertising based on analytics or data in general, and then a few cases about content targeting. Just short cases showing what analytics can provide us and how to use it and why to use it. Then after that, maybe after like 45 minutes or so, we'll dig deeper into the actual tool, and we'll go through the Google Analytics user interface. Generally, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand and ask a question, and then I'll try to answer as many of those as possible while we are do this. It'll be nicer to all of us if I'm not the only one speaking during these 2 hours. But if anything, just just raise your hand. Okay, how does this look? Good, acceptable, good. So let's go forward with this one. So just to start with a bit of theory, how to use data in marketing, and let's go through a short introduction on that side. First of all, I'm first going to talk about data in general, what kind of roles data has in marketing or in the decision making in general. Well, I've been doing web analytics for quite a long time, and when I started, it was solely about measuring how we're doing, how many visitors, how many page views our site has, and since then, the role of data has got more diverse all the time. So people are using data for many other ways and many other questions than the original one. How are we doing? For instance, we have a lot of data around background information on when we start doing marketing or designing marketing campaigns. We need to know something about the market, something about the target group. What are they interested in? Then data can be an inspiration to the creative idea, media planning. What is the actual idea? Is it something that we should go for? Then data can be as a part of the creative. That's if you have looked at what happened at Cannes festival, we saw that many of the awards were actually given to ad campaigns that had data included in the actual creative idea. So they very much built in. Clever targeting or something. So targeting, fuel for targeting messages. That's one way of using data. Then we have, of course, the traditional measuring. How are we doing? Proof that it works or proof that it doesn't work, and then we need to do something about stuff. Optimizing, the tool for optimizing the creative. It was so much easier back in the day when we had one creative idea for an ad campaign, and then it was live, and then after 6 months we found out whether it worked or not by looking at the revenue. Now it's different because we can tune the creative message based on the feedback we get. We need to measure it all the time, and we need to react on what's happening on the site and in the campaign. Of course, the last one is the machine learning bit. This is something that everybody keeps talking about. I'm not going to go too deep into machine learning side of things, but as a general idea around what data is all about, it's also fuel for machine learning. If we want the machine to learn, we need to provide them something to learn from. So data is that something. So that's the reason why data is becoming more and more important, and it's got more and more value also in the future. So how I see that where the world is going to when we talk about data is that we used to talk about data-driven this and data-driven that. I don't see the world being data-driven as such, because the data does not drive anything actually. No data never has actually driven anything. If the majority of world's data is just laying there in the server and nobody never ever even gives a glimpse to it. So what will happen in the future and is happening already now, that from data-driven we will get towards things being more data-inspired and insight-driven. Insight is what you make of data. Insight is your conclusion based on the data, but it's not data that drives your business. It's actually your insights, what you make of it. Of course, some things can be really data-driven, and those things can be automated. So that's the machine learning, and that's the marketing automation part of it. But all of that needs data to work. So where does it come from? Where does the data come from? We have different sources for data in every single company and in every single startup. A myriad of possible sources of data. We have our own data. First of them being, of course, web analytics, but not the only one. We have our own surveys. We might have our own CRM systems. We have all the other possible sources of data on our customers, on our products, on our clients, potential clients, markets. Then we have plenty of public data available, public studies and statistics, and Google search volumes, social media targeting data, ad network targeting data, all kinds of public data sources that anybody can access. Today we're going to talk about web analytics, and especially Google Analytics later on when we get to the practical side of things. But yes, on the more general side of things, so what is web analytics? What we do, what are we talking about when we talk about web analytics? So I guess the basic definition is that it's analyzing users' actions on the website so that the decisions are based on real data instead of a hunch or an idea on how things could work. This is the reason why web analytics exists in the first place. And the goal for that is to have better and more profitable websites and better and more profitable online presence in general. Ad campaigns, digital world. What makes it nice about digital is that everything you do is actually easy to measure, so we should use that. Google Analytics is not the only web analytics tool on the market, but it's one of the most popular ones because it's license fee-free, so that's one of the key tools on the market. Then we have 360 version of the same tool, which is a paid version of it. Bigger enterprise level clients, some of them use the 360 version of the tool, and then one of the main competitors to the 360 version is called Adobe Analytics. You might have heard about all of them, but today we're going to focus on the free version of the Google Analytics. So before going to the cases, let's go through some important terms to learn. KPI. KPI, it means an important metric, key performance indicator. Before setting up any analytics to any of your businesses, you might want to figure out what you actually want to measure. And what you want to measure are called KPIs. Because if you just set up something and then try to follow all the metrics there are, it's going to be a mess, and you will waste all your working days looking at the data. But that's the reason why you should probably start with defining the most important metrics. Conversion. Conversion means that it's a goal that we wish our visitors to reach on our site. So it's something that we want them to do. If it's a web store, we want them to buy. That's a conversion. If it's a media site, we might want them to go through at least 4 pages before they exit the site, and that's a conversion. It depends on the site, depends on the market, which are the conversions on our sites. Conversion rate, the share of successful sessions. Goal reached. If a web shop conversion rate is 5%, it means that 5% of all sessions, all visits on the site include a transaction or a purchase. By the way, do you know what's the average conversion rate or typical conversion rate in web shops, say in Finland? What's it usually? Guesses? 3? 3 is a good guess. Sometimes 3 is actually quite, is on an upper scale. Usually the ones that I've seen might be somewhere around 2, maybe a bit more than 2. Even less than 2 sometimes. But yeah, that's it. Some of the other conversion rates I've heard about, a few years back, I heard that Amazon.com conversion rate was 17%. So 17% of all sessions that ended up in Amazon.com included a purchase or a transaction. They bought something. Of course, it depends on what kind of product we're looking at. If we're selling apples and carrots, the conversion rate should be higher than what we're selling, like customized, like sports cars. Depends on how long, like a thinking period the product takes. Bounce rates. Bounce means a session that comes to the site and then bounces off. Those are dangerous sessions because you definitely end up paying one way or another for every session that comes to your site. But if they just bounce off, it's not good because they get nothing out of it. So they load one page and then they bounce off. A/B testing is not directly done through web analytics tools, but it's usually attached to analytics one way or another. It means that we optimize content by showing different versions to different users on the site. So we might have two different versions of the front page, the original version, and then we might have another version which got like different texts on the buttons, and then we show the original for like 50% of the users, and then we show the new version for the other half, and then we measure which one leads the users better to the conversion. Right. So, about web analytics, the 4 cornerstones of useful web analytics. This is how it's done. Last time we talked about only tools, and now we're talking about like generally how to make it actually useful. It all starts with a good measurement plan. So you should have a good plan on what to measure. Otherwise, anything that comes out of it is crap. If you know the basic rule, if crap goes in, no flowers come out. So every time you start thinking about setting up analytics, you should start with thinking about your measurement plan and defining the KPIs, the key performance indicators. Those KPIs are often and always derived from the business goals you have. Why does my company exist? What's the main goal of having the business running? And then you get the right metrics. Then, of course, the careful implementation or thorough implementation. If the data is wrong, it's usually more dangerous than non-existing data. I've got like plenty of examples on how things can go wrong with having faulty data. Sharing, that's the third step. Instead of having the data all by yourself, you should do everything to share it with others.
What does it mean, faulty data?
If it's wrong, meaning if it's wrong, if it's got like mistakes in it. Sometimes something can go wrong, even if you have like the perfect measurement plan. Then if the implementation is the technical side of it is done poorly, then you end up having something completely wrong. Like wrong numbers. 100 where you should have 25. That kind of fault. And the sharing part is important as well. If we make the data look good, people will use it more. So that's the rule number 3. If it's only hidden in the servers and everybody needs to log into Google Analytics to be able to use it, that's when nobody's ever going to use it. If it's hard to understand, then it's if it's hidden, it's never going to be used. So share it. Use Google Data Studio as much as you can to make it visible, to make it look good, to make it look like people actually want to dive deeper into that. And the last and the most important part, put the data in use. I've been doing. I'm pretty sure that I've done over the years. I've done like hundreds of. I've been working with hundreds of clients around data and how to set up the perfect analytics. And this is where it fails. If it fails, usually we can do the perfect measurement plan. We can implement it very carefully. We can interview like all the people in the organization, trying to find out what they actually want to know, what they actually need to know to do their work better. And then we share the data. Everything's fine. But nobody puts that into use. It's lying there in the server. Nobody ever has the time to read the reports. Nobody ever asks any questions of the data. And then it's just there. That's when things went wrong, because, that's all for nothing. So we need to put the data to work. read the reports, ask the questions, ask the tangible questions. Why is this number so high? Why is this number so low? What can we do to make it better? Why is this going down all the time, and so forth. There's the kind of a famous anecdote about the guy who was manufacturing heating pipes. When he was going through the construction sites, he noticed that it's pretty physical and hard and slow work to move the pipes around the construction sites. The pipes are long and it's hard to handle by one person, so it was time consuming and it was slow and physically hard to move the thingies around, move the heating pipes around. So what he did was that he added handles to his pipes so that one person could actually take one heating pipe and lift it up and put it wherever they want it to be put. And the end result was that customer satisfaction was increased and the projects were faster and everybody was happier and sales went up. So that's where we use the data to actually make some changes to the world. That's what's needed to make it actually count. He had data. It seemed slow. He had an idea how to fix it, and then he did that, and then he measured again. Because the true bottom line is always that it's all nonsense if nothing ever changes based on it. So analytics, web analytics, and all kinds of analytics becomes useful if something happens based on the data. Okay, so I have a few cases on what has happened and how things have changed based on the data in some cases. The first 2 or 3 cases are about optimizing content. So we have a website and we want to make the content better and more efficient to users. Some questions that web analytics can answer about content and how it works. How much traffic have we got? Which are the most popular pages? How do users navigate? Are they going from the front page to the page B or C most often? Which pages most often lead to conversion? So which are the most useful ones? What users search for internally? How long it takes on average for the pages to load? The page load time. We can see that in analytics as well. What about our user segments or different devices? Is it different for mobile users than for desktop users? How they're using my sites? So the first case is internal search case. This is a case from visitfinland.com. I don't know whether any of you guys have visited visitfinland.com, but the main... How do you like it, by the way? No. Just no. The point is that they want to make people all over the world interested in traveling to Finland. So they have a collection of articles and all kinds of information about Finland. Huge images, like Aurora Borealis and on all of that. Winter images from Lapland and good articles about nice places to stay and so forth. What we found out that we had a separate analysis for the internal search. It was actually a very interesting analysis on seeing what people search for when they are at visitfinland.com sites, and how it's different from what do German people search for, and what do Japanese people search for, or Chinese people, and what kind of differences we have. We noticed that in Japan, people search for Moomin, a lot of Moomin stuff. Of course, we knew that Moomin is blooming in Japan, but we didn't know that they were trying to find Moomin-related articles on visitfinland.com. They didn't think that they should provide Moomin stuff. So there was nothing about Moomin. So hundreds and hundreds of Japanese visitors came there monthly, searched for Moomin stuff, and then they left because there was nothing there. So the action this was the finding, that was the data bit, and then the action we did is that 2 new movement-related articles were written and added on the page. And those articles were actually only targeted to Japanese visitors, so they were not translated to other languages. And the result was that movement articles are still among the most popular ones at visitfinland.com for Japanese users. But they hadn't added the articles without having the data on, oh, wait, you guys are searching for moving, so what if we provide you something to, look at? Another case for optimizing content, it's a contact button case. We had a B2B company, and their main goal was to find more leads on the web. So they didn't have a web store as such, but they wanted people to contact them through the website. What we found out was that the front page didn't lead users much anywhere. So people came to the front page and they left. A high bounce rate, like 60-70% bounce rate. They never went anywhere. What was done, the action based on this, is that, like quite a simple case actually. We wanted the visitors to contact the company. Then we added a huge contact button that said contact. Well, that's so-called call to action in web analytics. A huge button on the site that said contact, and then when people clicked on that button, then they were led to the contact page, and then they could easily leave their contact information and tell what they're after and why they are on the site. And the new version was A/B tested against the old version, so that half of the people, for a while, they saw the old version, and half of the people saw the new version of the site. What happened was that the new version let users to contacts clearly more often than the old version. And in numbers, it meant that during the first 3 months, the number of leads increased by 37%, which meant like 100,000 euros in the final sales for this particular company. So it was just a matter of a tiny button on the site. And one more case around optimizing content. This case is terms of delivery. This is a furniture company, and they had both like offline store or like brick and mortar store, and then online store as well. And they wanted to have more sales online. What we found out when we searched for the data was that users were very interested in the products, but they never bought anything. So the conversion rate was extremely low. It was like 0.something%. And moreover, when we investigated the purchase funnel, and the purchase funnel means funnel is the shape of, like the funnel, and if the normal purchase funnel means that 100 people get into the product page, and 90 people add something to the shopping cart, and 80 people go to the checkout funnel, and 70 people after that leave their contact information, and 60 people, and like that's a funnel shape, and eventually you get like 30 people who actually make a purchase. And often when we do analysis on the web stores, one of the key interest points is the funnel, the shape of the funnel. How does it look like? If it's wide all the way, then it's all good. If it's like wide at the beginning and then suddenly people drop out, then there's something wrong in that point, and then we need to fix that. In this case, there was nothing wrong with the funnel. It was just that people never went there. They never even tried to purchase anything online. So it was not a technical issue. They just didn't buy anything. They didn't want to buy furniture online, and that was the main worry. They were mainly only window shopping. So what was the action based on this? We tested several hypotheses, and the one that was the most efficient one, or that had the biggest impact, was putting the terms of delivery on the product pages already. So that when I see the picture of a sofa, on the right-hand side, I would be told what this would cost to deliver to, Helsinki area or something. So they would see the delivery costs right away, instead of, needed to go through the purchase funnel and see how much it costs, and they assumed it to be so much that they didn't even bother trying. So they was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just grab a van and go to, you know, like the edge of the world to grab myself. No, don't do that. Buy it here, 40 euros for delivery, and you don't need a van. And that was the message we were trying to push through. And it actually works. Conversion rate improves clearly, and people started to think about the furniture as products that they could buy online too. They didn't have to go all the way to the brick and mortar store. Good. So a few more cases. Next, about optimizing digital advertising. What's happening on the advertising side? How we draw traffic to our own site. So a few questions about marketing that we can find answers in the digital data from. Which digital channels provide most traffic on the site? How many people come through like search engines, and how many people come through different blog posts written by others? Who comes directly without clicking on any links, and who remembers the URL by heart? What kind of newsletter content is most efficient in driving traffic? Which traffic sources are most useful, meaning user converts more often? What kind of campaigns we should invest more in the future, and what kind of campaigns we should invest less in the future? It's also possible to find some information and insights about offline campaigns. So if we have like a print ad or a outdoor ad, how well does that provide traffic to the sites? And then a tricky word called attribution. It means which traffic sources lead to conversion right away and which only later, and which never contributed any sales. So basically different traffic channels and different campaigns usually are efficient in different phases of the customer journey. It means that some campaigns, the goal is to do branding. It's aimed at people who don't know anything about the product, and then they're not even expected to buy right away. And then some campaigns are really much more tactical, saying that this is on the sale now, it only costs 10 euros, go on and buy it. That's when we expect the sales happen right away. So attribution modeling tells us in what kind of a campaign a certain campaign is. Is it something that drives sales right away, or is it something that drives sales later on or never, which is the worst case scenario? Some cases, a few cases about optimizing campaigns. The first one is about social media. This is a kind of a same kind of case has happened with many of the clients recently I've been dealing with. This was an online store, and the goal was to obviously sell more stuff online. Yeah. Finding from the data was that social media traffic was growing, but users never bought anything. That was the first assumption. They never bought anything. There were lots of traffic coming from Facebook and LinkedIn and whatnot, and then they never bought anything. However, a closer look at the attribution side revealed that it's not completely useless, because those social media people actually came back later on. They first came through social media, and then afterwards, like next day or a few days after, they came through some other channel, like a search engine or something. They remembered what they saw in Facebook, and then they came back afterwards through some other channel, and then they bought. So, of course, in this case, the action was to get more social users. Even though they didn't buy anything right away, they bought something later on, and that was useful. Social media worked pretty well as a branding campaign. Total sales increased as a result. Another case This is about rewarding good emails. This is a very kind of a specific case. Does not apply to every kind of business, but this was a kind of a specific one. It was a B2B company. Goal was to increase online sales, but their clients were kind of a huge, and they had a system where they had salespeople, and these sales guys personally contacted the buyers by sending emails, by sending different kinds of offers, and then the buyers ended up to the web store to buy stuff. So salespeople contacted the potential clients via email. What they wanted to have is that they wanted to have more data on whose emails were the most efficient one. So what they did was that they included that information in the actual email, like campaign parameters or campaign information. So they pushed the information on who sent the email to the actual link that the end user clicked on, and then the information was sent to Google Analytics on who sent the first email. So if they had like 3 sales guys, like Pirjo and Martti and Jaakko, then they had 3 types of emails going out. Pirjo's emails and Martti's emails and Jaakko's emails. And then they saw later on that Jaakko's emails were the most efficient one, because those provided us like sales of 10,500 euros, and the others only sold 5,000 euros or so. So that was the idea, and it worked pretty well. The results were used to decide later on on sales guy bonuses, and it was driving their emails to the direction of them being more efficient. So it was a good tool and a good internal game as such. So the last bit of cases, or the last category of cases I have is about content targeting. Generally, how I would like to see the data and content targeting and having different target groups as such is that it's nothing new. Generally, there's nothing new to it. So if we imagine like old-fashioned brick-and-mortar store with that, like a tiny clothing store at Freda or something, we have a salesperson who's selling shirts in this case. And the same salesperson was there working in the 80s as well. So it's an old store, and there's a guy who comes in. Already when the salesperson sees the guy, he's got a lot of data. He knows pretty much what size he's wearing. He likes blue, he likes jeans. Oh wait, you came here last week and you bought the pair of red pants, so actually I know that these would go well with the red pants you bought last time. It's all about data. It's about figuring out what the client needs. Why we're talking about data so much nowadays is that, of course, we can have it like the digital version of that same thingy happens online, and we can have the data in numbers. But the truth is that we need to have it in numbers because people are buying stuff online. So that's basically the same thing that happens. What the online stores are just trying to do is that they will try to recognize and try to have as much data of the person who's visiting the site as possible, because they want to serve them better. They want to remember what they bought last time to be able to give them better suggestions for this time. They want to know what size they're usually using, and they want to store that in a cookie so that they can tell right away that these pieces are actually your size and they're in the stock right now. So the same happens. We still need data, and still the good customer service is understanding the client's needs. What's different nowadays from the 80s is that we rarely go to the physical store, so there's a lot of digital data flowing around. So about that targeting, which is not new, nothing new, but it's luckily become more popular in the digital world as well. First case is about targeting content based on the traffic source. We had a travel company Main goal was to sell trips to Tallinn and Stockholm, so the close by destinations from Finland. Finding based on the data was that the most important landing page did not lead to purchase. So they had this huge page full of, best deals of the day, and all their campaigning was leading to that very page, but it was not that efficient in driving sales. So what we did was that that very landing page was tuned based on the user's traffic source. They had cooperation with different Tallinn bloggers, for instance, and they had links on the different Tallinn blogs and different sites that told stories about Tallinn, and then they were driving those people to the sites. And whenever somebody came from the Tallinn blog, that very same page was tuned so that it showed the Tallinn offers first, and the others only later on. And then the same later on was done with the Stockholm-related blogs and so forth. So they, based on the traffic source, they were trying to figure out whether this user is more interested in Tallinn or Stockholm or completely something else. And then they were tuning the landing page. And phase one result was that Tallinn trip sold more than before. So it was working pretty well. I can't remember the numbers, but it was a really, really huge number when I first saw it, how much more that Tallinn trips actually sold, just based on that. Another case about targeting content to new and returning users. This was a company of financial services. They wanted to sell more services online. And what we found out when we were investigating the data was that new and returning users proceeded to different content from the front page. So it was, there was a clear difference. If you were a new user, it would go to different places on the front page than if you were actually the returning user. So what was done based on this was that the front page content was slightly altered for these two target groups. If it was a new user who had never been on the site before, there was a strong emphasis on company information and reliability, so telling who we are and why you should trust us. And the next step was the product detail pages. For returning users, it was completely different. It was there was a strong emphasis on the current best prices and the deals, and much more tactical approach on the front page. And the next step for them was directly to purchase funnel. If the completely new users had seen this version of the site, they would have probably been scared off and thought that what's this all about, and they probably would have left. What was a good result was that the conversion rate increased in both the segments. So it was not only the new users who got better service, it was actually both of them. And in that case, it was a good targeting. Okay, so that was my. I was planned on having 45 minutes on the theory side of things, and apparently now it's 16:45, so I'm pretty much on time. Let's move forward to the practical side of things. So now let's go through some Google Analytics stuff and what's happening in the Google Analytics user interface and how you can find the questions and how you can find the answers from there. We only have 1 hour, so let's not, try to conquer the world in 1 hour, but I might be able to give you some hints on where to look for. But before that, can I ask how many of you have never opened Google Analytics before in your life? By the way, stand up. It's good to have some exercise in the middle of the training. I'm not trying to, point fingers, but it's good to know. Yeah, so how many, so those of you who stand up who have never used Google Analytics before? Okay, and the next step is remain standing. The first time users. Who has used Google Analytics sometimes, but not recently? More people stand up. Then who's been using Google Analytics recently, but usually once a month or less often? How about weekly? Who uses Google Analytics weekly? Stand up if you're not standing up yet. How about daily? Do you have daily users? No, no daily users. So you can sit down. Thank you. In this phase, some of you were actually using it at least once a month or less often, or have been using it before at some point. You want to share what kind of changes you made based on the data? Any cases you might have? Yeah?
We once used Google Analytics for HR data.
Uh-huh.
Basically targeting their LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
And based on the click, suggest them reading their profile first.
Yeah.
And based on the search, identify those click responses and suggest them related posts.
Okay. Good. Good. That's a really clear use case. Any other examples? Is there something you've found, like piece of information you found from Google Analytics, and then you change something and it works? Or it doesn't work? Yeah.
Well, I have a sales page, and it's not converting like as good as I would hope. So now I'm in the process of making changes and
Good.
like A/B testing.
Good. What tools are you using to A/B test it?
Google Optimize.
That's good. Yeah. Google Optimize is, by the way, a good way of testing your sites. It's nowadays free as well. There's a free version available. It's somehow limited, but still it's like license fee free. So you might want to try that out. We're going to go to Google Analytics interface soon, but in addition to that, you might want to try out Optimize, and then Google Optimize, and then also Google Data Studio. Google Data Studio is a tool that lets you bring in the data from Google Analytics or AdWords or any other place and make good visuals on your results, so that you don't have to go to Google Analytics every time you want to show something. You can have a separate, nice-looking dashboard made for you. I'm going to quickly show you an example. Google Data Studio has got some example reports made ready for you if you want to sometimes investigate it and make a version of your own. If you're running any web analytics data or any AdWords campaigning, you should probably consider using Data Studio. Yeah.
Is this updating?
This is updating all the time, yes, and you can have interactive parts in it as well. So you can, the user can select the dates and maybe even the data source if you want them to look at different data sources and so forth. So it can be made interactive, and it updates all the time as well. Yes. So so the next phase is that we're going to sign into Google Analytics. Step number 1 is that you should log in to Google. So if you have a Gmail account, you can use that, or you might have some other email address you're already using Google Analytics with, or some other Google services. So sign in to Google with your Gmail address or other Google account. If you do not have any data, if you go to analytics.google.com, if you do not have any access to any Google Analytics data, you can get access to Google demo data. And how you do that is that you search for Google Analytics demo account in the, the search engine. Google has one of those. Search for that, and then you will find an article called Google Analytics demo account. analytics.google.com/analytics/web/demo account. If you click on that, you will see the article. And in the article, you can see the link written in caps lock, access demo account. You don't have to do this now if you don't want to. If you have some other access to data, if you want to stroll through your own data, that's always better. But if you don't have any data to look at, this is the demo data you can always use. So if you find this article and you're signed in with your browser, then go on and click on Access Demo Account. After that, you should see the demo account in your Google Analytics list. So when you want to see which accounts, which different analytics results you have access to, you need to click on the little orange icon that's not visible in the screen, but you probably can see it there, like 3 different colored orange bars. You can click on that on the left-hand upper corner, and then you can see the list of different accounts you have access to. And one of them should be a demo account. It can be the only one, or then you might have other Google Analytics accesses as well. If you want to use your own access, go for it. But in this example, I'm going to use the master view of the demo account. Demo account results. So I'm going to click on the master view. Then I'm going to dig deeper into the results. So next I'm going to show you some neat little tricks you can do with the data to make your analysis more, analysis easier. But before that, I'm going to walk you through what's happening in the user interface in general. So,
Can you make the fonts a little bigger?
yep, yeah, sure. Unfortunately, it's cutting away a part of it, but let's not mind. So, when you're signed in and you have access to some data, this is the left-hand side is where all the kind of the magic happens. This is where you find all the reports in Google Analytics. So you have customization parts. This only contains stuff if you put something in there. So like your own shortcuts or your own custom reports. Let's not go there. The other place that we're not going to go to is the admin section. There you can make changes to the Google Analytics settings. Like define conversions and all of that. So let's not go there either. Let's stick to the reports section of Google Analytics this time. So we have 5 main sections on the Google Analytics interface. We have real-time, audience, acquisition, behavior, and conversion. The real-time one tells us what's happening at this very moment. Right now, our example site has 16 users. And by the way, this should be the real live data for a shop called Google Merchandise Store. I'm going to click on Google Merchandise Store, click on Europe. And I'm probably one of these 18 people now, different browsers. So this is the site that we're looking at in terms of the results. This is Google Merchandise Store selling all kinds of things, all kinds of stuff branded for Google or YouTube or Android. So, 21 users now. Let's see how. Oh yes, active users, 3 active users from Finland. So we are on the map right now. The rest of the users come from the US. Growing. Now we are 4. Good. But this section shows what's happening right now. How many users we have right now. What kind of content they are viewing right now. This is interesting if you just publish something on your site. But it's in terms of real analytics and real digging deeper into the data, this is pretty much useless. But it's fun, and it's nice to see how things work at this very moment. So I'm going to go to the next section. So we have 4 sections. 4 sections of the kind of the basic or the how they're called. Standard reports. So these are the standard reports. Audience, acquisition, behavior, and conversion. These are the 4 categories for standard reports. And audience contains information on who's been on the site, so like background information on the users mainly. Acquisition is background information on the traffic sources. Behavior is about what they did on the site, which were the most important pages, most popular pages, and so forth. Conversions, this contains information on the goals we have, and then also e-commerce and attribution. So all kinds of interesting stuff happening there. So when I click to open the audience section of the site, I'm going to first open one of the basic reports that I'm going to show something, some basic features with. So when I clicked on the mobile overview, this is the report that shows from which device types our users were actually using. So in this case, 72% of all traffic came with the mobile device. What do you think? Is it a big share with the desktop device? 72% for the desktop. Is it big? It's huge. It's huge. Why is it so huge? Yeah. But what do you think these guys are not?
It's most, I don't know, because it's me. Oh, no.
I think, this is just an hypothesis, but I think that it's because this is a business service, in a sense that actually these people who buy stuff from Google Merchandise Store, they are very rarely consumers. When we go to the conversion part and the e-commerce results, we can see that the typical purchase is like 35 t-shirts and 75 backpacks. So it's mostly local, Google organizations in US who order, a stack of stuff at once. So it's usually if it's a business site, then people are using it from their desktops, actually working hours, and then they use it with the desktop device. But yeah, that's true. 72% for desktop traffic is huge. What do you think? What is the, for instance, on Finnish media sites? What's the share of mobile traffic? 80%. Not 80. No, not yet. At least. I think it's the average is a bit more than 50. Yes. So 50% of mobile, and then 10, 11, 12% of a tablet, and the rest of it is desktop. So 30-something% of desktop traffic. It's been changing quite a bit during the past years, of course. But now I've actually seen that the share of mobile is not growing so fast anymore. So there's a bit of saturation happening all the time. And if there's, yeah. It's under audience. Under audience and then mobile overview is the report we're looking at. Yep. So what we can see in this report is that, first of all, we need to pick a date. And there's the date picker. The default is the past 30 days. But you can change it however you want. You can compare it to the previous 30 days if you want. And if I apply that one, I can see the change percentage. So the September results are 5.5% better than the August results in general, in terms of the amount of traffic. But the desktop traffic has grown, and the mobile traffic was way more popular. The mobile device was way more popular in August. Why is that? Probably people are having some kind of a summer holiday, even though if they're in the US, they might have some, like a week or two, and then they're not with their desktops and desktop devices, they're actually browsing mobile. That's the mobile spike in the Finnish media as well. That happens in July usually. So the share of mobile traffic is steadily growing, and then there's July, and then it goes back to the normal growth path. And then there's December, and then it goes back to the normal path. Whenever people are on holiday, they tend to use more mobile devices, which is natural. But yeah, I'm gonna take off the comparison. So what I said earlier was that the key point in making data useful is to ask questions. Ask questions from the data. So we can look at the data from that perspective. And one of the most interesting things I see now is that we have a bounce rate for desktop devices, which is 40%. And both mobile and tablet bounce rate is more than 50%. So desktop traffic quality is much better than the mobile traffic quality. They just come and then they leave. That might be a technical issue, or it might be something to do with, might have got something to do with the situation when you're browsing or something. If I look at the right-hand side of the same chart, I can see that the interesting part here is the e-commerce conversion rate. So for desktop users, the conversion rate is 1.58%. 1.58% of all sessions included a purchase or a transaction. It's way less than that for mobile and tablet users. Mobile users' conversion rate is 0.46%. So mobile users are not buying. There might be different reasons for that. Some of them are related to when people are viewing the website. They might not be in the perfect position for buying, but some of them might be actually technical. So now, yeah.
Have you somewhere defined what is the conversion, like where it comes from?
Yes, yes. In this case, this whole measurement has been set up so that it's an e-commerce site. So the main conversion is the sales, which is the e-commerce. And then if I click to open this drop-down menu, I can see all the goals that have been defined here. So it's a definition that somebody has done to this data before. If you wanted to add some goals, we can do it in the user interface as well, but let's have the goals that we right now have here. So we have e-commerce, and then we have, on top of that, we have goals. We have user engaged, we have somebody registering, we have entered checkout, we have smart goals, all kinds of goals defined in there. But the most important conversion we have is the e-commerce. We want them to buy something. Of course, then we might want to know why mobile users' conversion rate is so much lower. So the next thing we want to do is to dig deeper. And how we dig deeper to the results is that usually the best way is to use the secondary dimension. So we can cross-reference the existing one with something else. For instance, I want to know device category and I'm putting here landing page. So now our table, instead of it being like 3 rows long, it's 573 rows long because I cross-referenced the landing page with the device category. And now I can see that my point here is to find out which mobile users are most are the best ones or even the worst ones. Then we have a table search here, table filter. I'm going to search only for mobile rows on the data. I know that mobile conversion rate is low. So my first hypothesis is that they are entering the site on the wrong way or to the wrong place. So this is the landing page, which is the first page of the session. So let's see whether it makes any sense. Well, yeah, the conversion rate is quite low for all of the options. There's one particular page that has a bigger conversion rate than the others, 1.32%, but the others are pretty poor, especially this one. Lots of traffic entering the site through Google redesign, shop by brand, YouTube, this kind of page. 2,601 sessions during the past 30 days and 1 purchase. So I really do hope that these guys are not paying much for that traffic because it doesn't make any sense. 1 purchase, 0.04 as conversion rate. Good. So this way I could try and find out why, yes?
That Google redesign shop, is that a URL?
Mm-hmm.
A YouTube channel?
That's a URL. This is the landing page. So if you want to see what that page is actually all about, you can click on the tiny box next to it.
So that's attribution to landing.
Yes, that's mobile users who landed on this page, for whom this was the first page of the session.
Okay, right.
Yes.
Got it, right.
Can you click it?
Yes, I can.
So what counts as a conversion on that page versus conversion on another page?
We were using. Oh, what? Yes.
Are they all
Select all squares.
purchased? Are all the conversions purchased? Because some other conversions down. Are they all? Right.
So okay. That's a beautiful demo effect. Thanks for this. They made me click on vehicles for nothing, but yes. This should show the result. Yes, it's possible that I can't even enter the page with the desktop device. There's a chance, but let's not get stuck to that. So that's yes, and if I'm still looking at only mobile traffic, if I have this mobile written in the table search here, but I might be interested in seeing like different types of devices. So if I put here like operating system, let's put operating system. Instead of landing page, I want to see whether all mobile devices with all types of operating systems work as bad as the average mobile. Oh, yes, they do. There's no big difference between Android and iOS. And the rest of them are pretty rare. Somebody's still using Windows Phone. That's good. Yes. If I just want to get rid of the secondary dimension I have, I'm going to click on this one. and I'm gonna get rid of the traffic, the filters I'm using. So this is, I'm back to the original report. It shows my traffic divided into 3 different categories: desktop traffic, mobile traffic, and tablet traffic. Yes. So what I can show you next is that I can show you one of the most interesting reports in all the categories. We don't have time to go through all of them, but just to go through some of them. First of all, feel free to test out the active users lifetime value cohort analysis if you want to, but I'm not going to go there this time. I'm going to go to locations, for instance. So this geolocation shows us from where the users came from, like geographically. So in this case, now this actually reveals quite a bit. United States, India, UK, Canada, Japan, Germany, France, and so forth. But US traffic is almost 50% of all the traffic on the site. So this is very US focused site. And now we can also see that the conversion rate in US is much higher than any of the other countries. So it's 2.48%. Yes, and all the other countries are mainly, lower than that. And then, of course, one of the reasons for the mobile traffic conversion rate being so low might be that US people were the ones who were working, and they were using it through the desktop, and many others were using it through a mobile device who were not even planning on buying anything. Good. If we click on US, we can dig deeper. We can see the California being the most popular one, but let's not pick that one. Let's pick the state of Texas and see what kind of traffic we have from Texas. It goes all the way to the city level. Austin, Houston, Dallas. Austin being the most popular one. Is there a South by Southwest is in Austin? Probably Google are presenting there. So that might be the reason for the big share of Austin in there, because Austin is quite a small-ish city otherwise. Yes. Okay. Under technology, we can see all kind of information about the technology that users are having. Browsers, operating systems, screen resolutions, all kinds of things. 80% of all users are using Chrome as their browser. So it kind of suggests that this is very much Google internal traffic, actually, browsing on the site. The mobile section we already went through. If we want more information on the mobile devices as such, we can say that, yes, Apple iPhone is the most popular one. Or actually not as such, because all the Apple iPhones are in the same category, but different Google devices are in different lots. So if you look at mobile device branding, well, still Apple is the number one, and then Samsung, Google, and so forth. Generally, if you want to know anything about the background of the people who are using the site, the audience is the section you want to look for. We also have things like demographics and interest categories. This is obviously something that is not solely based on the Google Analytics data, because we can never know whether the user is male or female or how old they are. But this is based on DoubleClick. It's the ad delivery system. DoubleClick data mostly. So we click on demographics, we can see that Google's estimate is that 67% of all the traffic here is male and 32% is female. So I'm going to close the audience section here. I'm going to dig deeper to acquisition now. Acquisition tells us where the users came from. What was the previous site? What was the previous address before they entered our site? And I guess the most used reports in this sense from this side are channels, and then we have source/medium. These are all ways of categorizing traffic into, based on the traffic sources. So we have more than 50% of all traffic comes through organic Google search. Organic meaning not paid for. Direct traffic, 18%, and then different Google referrals. Googleplex.com, analytics.google.com, sites.google.com, and so forth. And then again, we can see who's converting and who's not. This is the this is the e-commerce conversion rate. More.googleplex.com, more than 5% of conversion rate. So they are really, really keen on buying the stuff. Another report on traffic sources, we have channels. And this is the main level categorization. Organic search, direct referral. Referral means any sites that have got links to our site, if they're not search engines or social media sites. And then we have a different, like separate social media slot here. Again, not only the number of traffic or the amount of traffic we're looking at, we want to see the conversion rates, because this is the quality. This tells us about the quality. Yeah.
How do you make sure that you're not using the search for the paid ones, but if you want to have the organic search for your website, what is the best way or procedures to do?
What's the best way and best practice to do the perfect search engine optimization? Or you mean that?
Yeah.
How to make sure that your site is among the
Yeah, it's the original search.
Yeah. Generally, if I'm going to answer with like 2 sentences to that question, is that there's yes, that's a lot of work. In the past, there's been many tries and like many kinds of moments when somebody's been able to hack like the Google bots and the Google algorithms with different kinds of things. Like you do remember, some of you do remember the like the end of 90s first websites trying to organically optimize their content by placing white text on white background, saying something completely non-related to the actual site, and that's nowadays the good news is that hacks don't work. But of course the bad news is that the hacks don't work. So what's the most what you should do in order to get more traffic from the non-paid search is that you should provide content that makes sense to a lot of people, and keep updating the sites and write it so that you use the words that in the headlines and in the page titles, the words that resonate, and the words that people are using when they search for stuff on the subject you're writing about. So it's all about content. It's all about making quality content that people want to link to. The more links you get from outside, the better results your site gets, because if you get linked to from another site, that's a message to Google bots that your site is valuable and it should be upper on the results. So yes, no quick ways and quick wins, but hard work, typing. Good. Then again, all the results under acquisition are mostly about where the users came from, and then the main question here is, which traffic we should get more, and what to do to get that, and which traffic we should get less, and which is not like kind of, is there places where we're throwing our money away? We have traffic sources that provide a lot of traffic, but it might be expensive. It might be like cost per click traffic that never ever ends up buying anything. So that's a traffic we should ditch. In this case, at least paid search is kind of a, like paid traffic in this scale. And it's 2.27% of conversion rate. Not that huge, but it's more than zero, so maybe it's worth it. Good.
Does paid search include ads? Is it AdWords?
Yes, paid search in this case means AdWords mainly. Yes. AdWords traffic. And social, if we want to click on social, Google automatically places different channels to social. So in this case, YouTube, Quora, Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, Google Groups, WikiHow, Google+, and so forth, Vkontakte. All these are considered as social traffic. And not that many purchases directly from social. They got 4, so it's more than nothing. One guy out of 200 that came from Facebook actually purchased something. It's good. Usually Facebook never never works on the first round. Good. So the next section is behavior. We can look at the behavioral side of things. So this behavior section in Google Analytics contains all the information about what they did on the site, what they did, which was the main content they were interested in. So by far the most popular reports here is site content, and then under that, all pages. So this is the URL without the main domain. So this means that this is the page called /home. So if I'm there's a usability issue on this one. If I want to look at hoodies, this very page in my reports, it's called this one, /subcategory /women /apparel, and so forth. So the beginning of the URL, the main domain is missing. So the most popular page is the front page called home, and so forth. We can also look at the different content based on page title if we want to click on that one. Page title is what's written, for instance, here. Oh, sorry, you can't see it, but at the main headline in the tab, for instance. So you can see which pages were the most popular ones. Here we can find a special report on navigation. If we scroll up on this very same page, we can see the navigation summary. So we can click on that one. And this is the report that shows us how people navigate around a certain page. So we can select from this list. We have a current selection. We can select a page that we're interested in. For instance, if I want to see, well, let's have the home or the front page here. The front page called home. This report shows those people who loaded that front page, where they came from, which is the left-hand side, and what was the next page after they visited the home page. In this case, there's the front page. 35% leave without clicking on anything, and then 65% continue further on the site. By far the most popular next step is men's apparel. So this might suggest that actually the demographic results were correct, and people are more interested. These users are more interested in men's wear than ladies' wear. Yep.
I have a general question. What if the user clicks the back button of the browser? Is this then
Yes.
page, or-
Yes, that's always a page view. So we're looking at page views. Every time a page is loaded, then it's a page view. If they click on a link to another page, it's a page view. And then if they click on the back button, it's still a page view. It's the page is loaded. In this case, it shows that in that case it shows that some of the the kind of the page where the back button was clicked on, it shows as the source page for the previous one as well. There was a good use case in one of the trainings I was doing like a couple of weeks ago. We had a client who took a look at this report for the very first time, and they noticed that they wanted to see, their question is, where do people go from the front page? And the funny part was that then we noticed, we looked at it together, and we noticed that they went to, like, by far the most common next page after the front page was the purchase funnel, the checkout funnel. And also we noticed that they came from the checkout funnel to the front page, and then they continued from the to the checkout funnel from the front page. And it was like, and then they were wondering, like, why would that be? If you're already on the checkout funnel, then why would you go to front page? And then we actually went to the checkout funnel and checked what it looked like. And then the result was clear, because there was a phase in the checkout funnel once it was, I think it was the shopping cart phase, when they clicked on, yes, I want to see the shopping cart and I want to pay for my stuff, what's in there. And then the biggest and the most notable button on that side was continue shopping. And the go forward and pay your stuff was actually way down. You had to scroll to see the next step. So we noticed that they were trying to buy something, but they ended up on the front page because they accidentally clicked on the continue shopping button instead of the continue purchase button, which was way down below the site. So, and then from this very report, we noticed that was it like 400 people in a month clicked on that wrong button, and only like 350 came back went back to the purchase funnel. So they lost 50 purchases per week based on that. And then they calculated the value for that, which was like, okay, if we fix this one, we turn these two buttons around, then we will save like, was it like 40,000 euros a month, or we get more sales for 40,000 euros a year or something. So it was like, because we clearly saw that those people who accidentally click on that one never came back, like a share of them. 15% of them were disappointed and left from the front page. So yes, but that's just one of the use cases for this report. Good. Other interesting things around under behavior here is different ways of looking at the content of the site. Which are the most popular landing pages, for instance, and which landing pages direct most to sales. Store.html, for instance, seems to be a very efficient landing page. The conversion rate for those people is more than 2%. But then we have a landing page. Oh wait, it's a basket. It's a shopping cart. So that makes sense. Conversion rate for people who landed on the shopping cart is higher. We have site speed.
Excuse me.
Yep.
So I'm actually looking at the shortcuts webpage analytics now. So I can help
Yeah. Good.
with the analytics. We just set up GA over here.
Good.
And on the landing pages, if you look at, say, the Catalyst program, which is one of the shortcuts, kind of really important.
Yeah.
Next initiatives next. That's coming up. If the Catalyst program is considered a landing page, does it mean that people came through organic search through Google and landed on the Catalyst program directly?
Yes, that was the first page of the session. Yes.
It's not after the home
No, it's actually they started off from that page. If you want to see where they actually came from, you might want to click on secondary dimension and take the channel, for instance, or source/medium, and then you can see where they actually came from. Was it Google organic search, or was it a campaign that was? Yes. So if you go to secondary dimension and then pick source/medium. Then you have a lot of happening in the data, but you might want to.
There's so many features better into it.
Yeah. Oh yes. Then you can filter your data based on the page that you were actually looking at. So you might want to use the filter field as well to whichever was the page that you were first looking at.
Right.
That was the program page, because now you see a lot of things on the first column. Yes.
Is there a connection now to heat maps?
Yes and no. There's a feature that looks like heat map, but it's not. Don't use it. Don't use it. Stay away from the Google Analytics heat map. That's because Google Analytics is not tracking the mouse movement or link clicks as such. Google Analytics is only tracking the path from one page view to another page view. So if we get the problem with the Google Analytics heat map type of thingy, if you can still find it it's well hidden nowadays, but luckily. But if you can find it, how it works is that if the user goes from page A to page B, let's see, 5% of all the people who are on the page A, they end up in page B. So you can find a report on Google Analytics that shows that actual percentage next to each link, like how many people, how big a share of people clicked on this link. The problem is that Google Analytics doesn't really know if it was that actual link that they clicked on, or was it some other link directing to the same place. So that 5% might be the combination of 5 different links with 1% each, and then very often when we look at that report, we might have in the footer that no one ever goes to. We might see 15% click on this link and 17% of people click on that link. That's not the truth, because that's just Google Analytics knows that wherever this link is directing to, 17% of people end up there. But they don't know whether that was actually the link that was clicked.
But then, if you talked about the case that you just talked about, you would actually have to combine the knowledge with the heat map to understand if the button was active or not active, or otherwise it's a guess.
Yeah. Yes. Basically the heat map that Google Analytics provides is the navigation summary information put in a different form. It's exactly the same numbers you see there, but it's mapped so that you can see the numbers attached to the actual links.
So you actually have to take that and go into a separate program that.
Yes, I would use screaming. Any of the other tools that actually track the mouse movement and track what the users are, where the mouse is moving and where they're actually clicking on. I would not use the heat map of Google Analytics for that. Don't.
I'm just thinking if it could connect to other programs, that would be actually.
Yeah. That's exactly how it would be most perfect. If there was, and there might be, for instance, connectors to Data Studio from other tools like proper heat map tools, then we can attach the same, like the heat map from another tool, and then Google Analytics numbers next to it, and then that would be good. Good. Yeah. I'm not sure. I need to check, but the connectors are coming up all the time more and more. So that information is probably available pretty soon. For instance, a company called Supermetrics is providing the connectors all the time. I think the newest ones were about Salesforce and whatnot. So basically, the idea of Google Data Studio is that you can attach all kinds of data sources to that if you have the right connectors in between. But Google products work without any special connectors. So you can pull in data from AdWords and Google Analytics and so forth without anything special. But for the other data sources, you might need connectors too. So, yes. Site search, if you were interested in seeing what people search on your site search is the place. Especially the search terms. Now, if I remember correctly, this is, yes. This data is not very informative, but when you look at your own data, you might have something more interesting than what I'm showing here. But this is exactly the place where we noticed that Japanese visitors are looking for Moomin stuff, because then we noticed that Moomin was at the top of the list, and the exit rate, search exit, was like more than 70%, which means that more than 70% of those who search for Moomin actually left without clicking on it. Good. So the last bit, very last bit of the thingy is the conversion part. When the goals have been defined, you can see the goal results in all the other tables as well, just like we just saw. It was in the the right-hand corner. So let's not go there. I'm going to show you a couple of examples from the e-commerce side of things. What kind of things you can track with Google Analytics in terms of e-commerce. And for instance, we have checkout behavior reports showing how people go forward. This is the funnel I was talking about. So 1,900 people going to billing and shipping, then payment 1,300, and then review 931, and then final transactions 928. So it goes smoothly. Nothing badly wrong about that. And then we can see the full funnel for different kinds of users if we want to segment out returning visitors and new visitors compared to each other and so forth. Then we have product performance. This, yep.
The flow there.
Yep.
The checkout behavior. Yeah. Is each of those, are they separate pages?
Yeah, well, yes. It depends on how it's been set up, of course. If it's, yeah, I can set up, I can send all kinds of information. If it's not even a page view, then I can, for instance, send a hit to Google Analytics if somebody scrolls low enough for it to be considered as a payment section of the page or something. But usually it's a different page.
Right?
Yeah.
So within a checkout flow, every time you enter, say, a couple of details, into, say you enter your name and address, let's say, and then you go to the next screen, which is the credit card.
Yeah.
Each of those can be set up separately?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, so this is just tracking. They're trying to show the drop-off for each phase. Sure. And if you want to do a special marketing campaign for those who were in the billing and shipping phase of the process but never went forward, there's a direct, nice little red arrow that you can click on and then create an e-commerce segment. And then you can start advertising for those people, like almost automatically. It starts to collect your audience, and then you can remind them that, hey, you have stuff in the shopping cart, come back.
But where does this...
It's the Google Display Network, so all the network of different sites in the Google network where your ad might be visible. So when you leave something to the shopping cart, everybody knows Zalando. If you accidentally visit the product page and then the same freaking pair of shoes follows you for the rest of your life, that's exactly what happens here. Even if you're not interested in the shoes anymore, or you bought them from a brick and mortar store. Yes. So yes, this is the checkout behavior. Product performance shows which were the most popular products, for instance. And many different interesting results in that. And now this is the place. This is the place where we can easily notice that these are not normal average guys ordering products, because it says here that, for instance, Google sunglasses, which is the most popular product, the average quantity is 27 pairs of sunglasses per transaction. So really, an average guy orders 27 pairs of sunglasses for themselves only. Or like 22 sets of Google metallic notebooks. So yes, kind of looks like they've been setting up an office, or like being actually an office inside Google organization in US. So if the Austin office wants to have some Google sunglasses, they use this web store to order some, or even the Helsinki office, maybe. Good. Anyways, I'm starting to run out of my time. There would be so much more to tell you about analytics, and hope to get a chance to talk to you more about that in the future. My 5 cents to you guys: when you start using Google Analytics or any analytics, if you have a ready-made set of data, go on and boldly search what's happening here. You can't really break anything even if you try it. If you just go through different reports and use different dimensions to cross-reference with each other, just go boldly there and see what's happening. And then it all makes sense after you find some place to make action upon. So if you find a place that looks weird, and then you do a small analysis to find out why is that bit weird, and then you find out that you actually need to do something, and then when that something is done, then the analytics turns useful. So ask questions and make plans, actionable plans based on your data. Good. So that was it. Thank you very much. I have a separate thank you slide here. So thank you very much for listening. And yes, if you have any questions, I will still be here for like 15 minutes, so feel free to ask. Thank you.